Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the matrix labs, the video number 96. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We are still working with Claude 3.5 Sonnet and the other AI tools to give us troubleshooting scenarios concerning the volume shadow copy, and especially when it is used with the Veeam backup, which is one of the most famous uh, backup solutions in the market, especially in the backing up of VMs. We have seen in the previous video that we have seen a lot of scenarios concerning the VM. One of the most important scenario we have discussed in the previous video, when your VM backup failed to backup a virtual machine, and the problem was with the Hyper-V writer. So you are using the Veeam to backup a Hyper-V virtual machine. The problem was the failed backup job because of the Hyper-V writer is not working. We have seen how Claude 3.5 Sonnet give us a fantastic steps to solve this problem, not only restarting the service of the Hyper-V writer or the related service to the Hyper-V writer, not only that, but how to do that in a proper way and not to disturb the functionality of your network or your user access or something. We have seen how we have done this in a very professional way. So we will continue working with Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and I ask him to provide more scenarios concerning the Veeam failed backup jobs because of VSS not working properly. So let's see here another scenario. Here we see that I have given him already a case and ask him to explain the case. This was generated, or this case was generated with Gemini Pro experimental 1206 module, but it was a little bit complicated, so I asked him to re-explain it in a simple way. So here I will analyze this scenario in detail, incorporating specific references from provided documentation to enhance our understanding of the VSS backup failure. He should refer to Mr. Low van der Poel PDF to explain this case. So, root cause analysis. The core issue involves three key components that are failing during the backup process. Veeam attempt to create VS snapshot is failing. This is the first thing. The SQL Server VSS writer is experiencing an non-transit error. So, this is a case where you are backing up a SQL database, and Veeam is attempting to take backup of this SQL database using VSS, and it is failing. The writer is the problem. The backup operation is timing out during the freeze phase. So we know that the S writer will freeze the access of the SQL database on the hard disk until uh, uh, until the backup is taken or the volume shadow copy is taken. Okay, so let's break down each error and map its our documentation. Veeam error: failed to create snapshot, failed to prepare guest for freeze wait timeout. From the page 22 to 23 of the PDF, during VSS snapshot creation, there is a strict 60-second limit for the freeze phase where applications must prepare for the snapshot. Okay, this is correct if you open the PDF, just to make sure that we are in line what he is talking about. So we have page 22. So where is page 22? Here we have page 22 where he is talking about okay, here you go. This is the application freeze is not allowed to take longer than 60 seconds. So this is one thing, and we return back. We can see the error indicates the SQL Server writer couldn't complete preparations within this window. He was not able to freeze SQL database from accessing the hard disk, okay, or he did not finish coordinating with the SQL database to finish its current operations on the hard disk, okay. Event ID 8229 with error 0x800-423F4. According to page 82 to 83, this error code VSS writer error non-writable indicates a non-transit VSS writer failure. This means that the issue is not temporary and will likely reoccur unless addressed. Event ID 24583 from SQL writer. So this is for the VSS writer, or I think this is for VSS, and this is for the writer itself. Okay, so this is for the VSS service, and this is for the SQL writer. The SQL server VSS writer is failing to properly prepare the database for backup. Error 3103 indicates an abnormal termination of the backup process from page 137 to 138. This can occur due to SQL server resources constraint or database issues. Okay, so maybe there is access on the SQL server. Okay, a high demand on the SQL server or SQL database is currently accessed frequently, and the writer could not stop the operation of this SQL database to the hard disk. Okay, here is the comprehensive solution approach. Initial VSS writer assessment. We will list the writers. We will check especially for the SQL Server VSS writer status. Per page 10 to 11, all writers should show a stable with no error state. We can see here that he is referring to each page, which is a good thing. Uh, his previous answers, he was not doing that. If you go to page 10, here we can see where is page 10. So here is page 10, I think page 10 or 11. This is page 11, referring to stable non-error or no error. Then so we have, then this is the first step, SQL Server investigation. Check SQL Server error logs using SQL Server Management Studio, the utility to access the SQL Server database. Look for deadlocks, long-run transactions, or resource pressure. Okay, review database file locations to ensure they follow VSS best practices. So what are the VSS best practices for database files? This can be another question to be asked to different AI tools. Okay, so review the database file locations and ensure they follow VSS best practice. Let me get this line, copy, and can I ask it in a different, let me get another answer or another chat. Go to the project and troubleshooting, and then we can paste like that. What are uh, VSS is for backup SQL database files and locations. Refer to your project knowledge and your uh, your main knowledge if needed. Okay, let's see how this will do. So here is the best practices. First of all, database file and location. Place database on dedicated volume separate from the OS. Keep transaction logs on a separate volume from the data files. Okay, so the log files should be separated from the database files. Ensure SQL Server service account has proper permissions on all volumes. Database, here is some key recommendations. Format volumes as NTFS to ensure VSS compatibility. Leave accorded free space, at least 10% on volumes or VSS snapshots. So all of these are best practices. VSS writer configuration. Verify SQL VSS writer is installed and running in a stable state. Run VSS admin to check SQL state. Restart SQL Server if shows errors. Configure SQL writer to run under an account with proper permissions. This is on the local system user. VSS storage management. Monitor VSS storage using, okay, this is our, we all know this. Clean up copies regularly to prevent issues. Backup practices. Use application aware solutions that integrate with VSS writer. Schedule backups during periods of lower database activity. Limit VSS freeze duration to under 60 seconds to prevent timeouts. This is already by default. Test VSS backup functionality regularly using tools like Disk Shadow. Maintain consistent backup schedules to manage VSS snapshot storage. Okay, performance consideration. Monitor I/O impact during VSS operations. Avoid running multiple backup applications simultaneously. Consider hardware VSS provider if available for better performance. Balance frequency of snapshots with storage and performance requirements. Recovery testing. Regular test database recovery from VSS snapshots. Verify transaction log consistency after VSS backups. Document and test recovery procedures. Maintain backup chain integrity. Follow these practices help ensure consistent database backup, reliable recovery capabilities, efficient storage, minimal impact on production workload, protect against data loss. So this is one thing. So he didn't give us much. He just make sure that you have free space, the service account, the database is separated from the transaction logs location. Let me try to get this, or to ask this one to Perplexity. Let's go to Perplexity I, and let's see if we can get any answer from him. So here you go. Okay, let's see if we can get an answer from Perplexity. Now we have so here you go. Where is the answer? When implementing backup strategies for SQL database use volume shadow copy, it's essential to follow best practice to ensure that integrity, minimize downtime, optimize storage. Below are key recommendations. Use the SQL Server VSS writer. This component is crucial for creating consistent snapshots. Okay, this is we already use it. Choose appropriate backup types. Okay, full backup or that combined full backup are recommended as they provide complete snapshot. Okay, copy only backups. These backup allow you to create backup without affecting the existing sub backup sequence. Is useful for long-term retention without impacting regular backup schedules. Copy only backups. Differential backup. Okay, we can use the full backup. Schedule wisely. Schedule backups during off-peak hours. Okay, this is correct. Frequency. Ensure that the backups are frequently enough to meet your recovery point objective. Okay, how much backups you need to take. Configure recovery models. Simple recovery model. For database where point-in-time recovery is not required, consider using the simple recovery model. This model simplifies management by automatically removing inactive logs after each checkpoint. Full recovery mode. Okay, I don't know what are these. Ensure sufficient storage and configuration. Shadow copy storage. Service configuration. Okay, exclude database from antivirus scanning. Okay, exclude. This prevents potential and conflict issues during backup operations. So this is one good recommendation, because just a moment. So let's continue, guys. This is a good recommendation because maybe the antivirus activity on the SQL database can prevent the writer from working and the backup software from working as well. So this is a good answer. Monitor and test backup regularly. So I think we maybe have uh, the same recommendations by Claude. So this is a good answer. If we can continue our scenario, if we continue and go now, verify VSS writer, we can check the writer service, VSS diagnostic testing. There is something called SQL writer, I think. Yes, it has one called SQL writer. Okay, VSS diagnostic testing. Use disk shadow utility as described on page 63 or 64 to test VSX functionality independently of Veeam. Okay, so this we need to make sure who is the problem, the software of Veeam or the volume shadow copy component of the Windows. Okay, so here we are testing disk shadow. We need to create a temporary persistent or not persistent. We can make it as volatile, so we can make a temporary snapshot to make sure that the volume shadow copy is working and the error is not from Veeam. Resource monitoring, page 46 to 47, check for disk I/O performance issues, CPU utilization, memory pressure, storage latency. So this is on page 46 to 67. So this is a good explanation. 46. So where is page 46? We have page 46 to back up virtual machines. Where is page 46? No, this is not page 46. Maybe on page 47, maybe. Where is failover, clustering and Hyper-V? No, this is not it. Hyper-V writer. A backup under VSS. I think this is it, but it's page 48 maybe. Let's go further. So I think this is talking about. No, I think this is not the correct page, maybe. So we can continue working. At mention in page 45, verify VMware tools for Hyper-V integration services are current. So if this SQL database is on a virtual machine, so you need to make sure that the VMware tools are installed. If it's a virtual machine, VMware virtual machine or Hyper-V integration services. So this can be a problem to the backup using VSS if it is not installed. So okay, I think he is here referring to the SQL database on a virtual machine. So this is correct. Here is how we can troubleshoot something like this. This is page 46 to backup virtual machines. Here we go. We can see the steps. Anyway, so we can continue. Ensure the backup snapshot integration is running. Check snapshot file location matches VHD location. So okay. But I think here is conflicting snapshot with backup of VSS anyway, so this is the problem with SQL not SQL database backup not working. Again, advanced troubleshooting, VSS provider verification, is admin list of providers per page. 132, ensure only Microsoft software shadow copy provider is present unless specific hardware providers are needed. Shadow copy storage, maybe the backup is not taken because of a writer failure or storage failure, so we need to storage exceeded. List storage, check availability space of VSS operation as detailed on page 26 to 27. So again, we can go and refer to page 26. So VSS timeout. There is a VSS timeout. Increase the experience timeout with 10 minutes. So there is some VSS timeouts. In one of our videos, we have worked with the registry to increase the VSS timeout. So this is a correct one. Let's go to page 26 and 27. So here is the VSS admin utility. It's talking about page 26. If you go there, 26 and 27 disk shadow. So anyway, event viewer log analysis. Use the event viewer to check application logs for VSS errors, system logs for storage related issues, okay, SQL Server logs for database engine errors. Resolution steps. If SQL Server Writer shows as failed, we need to restart the SQL Writer service, clear existing shadow copies, just to make sure that maybe some of the shadow copies are corrupted. Okay, so we need to delete them all, or delete the oldest. He will delete them all. Optimize SQL Server for VSS. Review and potential adjust database recovery models. Schedule backups during lower activity periods. Consider breaking large database into smaller file groups. Veeam configuration. Review backup job setting for application aware processing. Consider adjusting backup window timing. Verify Veeam agent setting in guest VM. So this is one thing. Maybe there is no communication between the Veeam agent and the Veeam server. So this is one of the things. Preventive measures. Implement regular VSS monitoring. Monitor shadow copy storage space. Track VSS writer issues. Set up alerts for VSS related events. Regular maintenance. Schedule a regular SQL Server maintenance window. Keep integration services updated. Monitor and manage shadow copy storage space. Documentation. The main documentation of VSS configuration. Keep records of troubleshooting steps and resolution. Document backup success and failure patterns. So a good thing, a good case. It's very simple. How to do that, how to restart, how to prevent this from happening again, to schedule backup in non-peak hours. So this is one case. Again, we have another case. I have already also was generated by Gemini, but I am asking Claude to re-explain it. Let me analyze this VSS troubleshooting scenario with SQL Server, incorporating specific references from the provided documentation. Scenario analysis. Error message: failed to create snapshot with error code on SQL Server Writer. Again, for this service, failed root cause. Again, I think this is the same case. I think we should. Again, one thing here, VSS writer recovery. So you can restart the writer by a simple command to restart the SQL. To restart the writer or SQL writer, you should restart the SQL writer service. But here another commandlet or another PowerShell to restart the writer. Get writers stable SQL writer each in service, restart service. So here for this service in VS get writer equals so restart service display VSS writer recovery. Get VSS writer were non-stable, were stable, not stable, and he is talking about. So this is a complicated PowerShell. We can do it simply by listing writers and restarting the service. But here, what he will do, he will get the writer, will see the non-stable writer, and then restart the service related to this writer. Okay, so here we will see this is the writers. Then for each writer in list VSS, okay, in so and so VSS hash enumerator, get the VSS service key. Okay, so he will get the service and restart it for you. Okay, you just give him the SQL writer or the writer name maybe. Anyway, maybe this is it. So provide cleanup according to page 32-33. Check for non-Microsoft providers. Okay, we have only one. Navigate to this key to see it is non-Microsoft providers. Maybe this is the problem, but again, I think this case is repeated. Okay, so delete shadow copies. Again, this is the same case, but he is repeating it, so we don't need to do it again. So again, asking him to refer to the PDF and the project knowledge to create VSS troubleshooting scenarios, especially when using Veeam backup, create complex scenarios, use artifacts. So here asking him to provide another scenario using the Veeam. So let's see here what is this scenario. Let's create several complex troubleshooting scenarios. Scenario or exchange server writer timeout. Again, we have seen this. Okay, but I think with a different error. Let's see here. Is saying that an organization running Exchange server. Oh, this is Exchange server, not SQL server. So this is a different scenario, not SQL server. An organization running Exchange server 2019 on Windows Server 2019 with Veeam backup. The server also had a third-party storage solution installed with its own VSS provider. Backups have started failing with multiple VSS-related errors. Okay, so the Exchange server backup is failing. We have a server with Veeam backup installed with Veeam backup installed on it. We have a SAN storage. Okay, maybe this or the backups of the volume shadow copy will be saved to this storage. Okay, errors. Veeam error failed to create snapshot. Microsoft software shadow copy provider. One details guest processing failed. Event 8193 volume shadow copy service error unexpected error call routine so and so and so event so 24583 exchange VSS writer timeout. So we have a lot of errors. Key complications, multiple VSS providers present. So we have one for Microsoft and the other for the SAN storage, maybe and we have high exchange database activity, storage array with custom VSS provider, large transaction logs, a critical production environment, can't easily reboot. So this is the case how we can restart a VSS writer without restarting the whole server. Okay, so let's see how he will solve this problem. Okay, if we go before going here is giving common VSS failure patterns, writer failures. These are the errors: writer timeout, writer state corruption, multiple writer failures. So these are all errors: provider issues, provider registration failure, provider timeout, provider compatibility, hardware provider errors, storage problems for saving shadow copies. This is insufficient storage, maximum shadow copies exceeded, storage association error, volume not supported, not NTFS. Okay, so these are the errors. Let's see the diagnostic flow. So what we need to do, change VSS diagnostic steps. Initial assessment, check VSS writer state, check providers, exchange analysis, check exchange transaction logs to see if there is any access on the exchange database during the backup, monitor exchange database activity, review exchange VSS writer logs, storage investigation, check shadow copy storage to make sure that you have enough storage for the backups, shadow copy backups, review storage log providers, the logs for the provider of the storage. Okay, monitor disk performance, resolution steps, force Microsoft VSS provider. So I think he will, this is not a good one. He is forcing to use Microsoft VSS provider instead of the storage provider. Maybe manage exchange log truncation, adjust VSS timeouts. This is one good step. We have seen it in the PDF. Clean up shadow copies. Okay, so let's see. This is one case. Actually, I will ask him to provide more details, but first he is giving us a quick solution. The next case is Hyper-V cluster VSS writer failure. I think we have seen this actually, also provided by Claude. Hyper-V cluster environment running SQL Server VMs experiencing VSS failure during VM backup. The cluster have shared storage on SAN with its own hardware provider. I think we have seen this case before. Troubleshooting failure. Okay, Hyper-V, we have seen this. Okay, we have given us how we can do that. But here we have double things. We have the Hyper-V writer and I think also the SQL writer. So we have a couple of things here. We have a Windows Server Hyper-V cluster environment running SQL Server VM. Experiencing VSS failures during VM backup, the cluster have shared storage on SAN with its own hardware provider. So we have the error rewritable. This is one volume shadow copy service error. Error creating the shadow copy provider com class. Hyper-V writer error. Okay, so let's see the troubleshooting of this one. Okay, verify cluster resource status. We have seen this before. Check CSV health, review cluster logs, VSS component check, check the writer of the Hyper-V, the providers, VM level investigation, check VM integration services, verify VM checkpoint status, review VM configuration, storage analysis, check SAN provider status, verify storage connectivity, monitor CSV performance. Okay, it is case 2. Very brief, but I'll ask him to explain it more. SQL Server always on availability group versus VSS failure. So I think there is a cluster. I think here he's talking about cluster SQL. Let's me create one final scenario focused on SQL Server always on with multiple complications. Would you like me to proceed with the scenario? Okay, this could include complex interactions, SQL Server VSS Writer, cluster VSS Writer, always on AG backup preferences, multiple SQL instance, Veeam backup job configuration, storage, snapshot, coordination. Would you like me to continue with this search scenario and its associated troubleshooting flows? Before that, ask him to give each scenario give detailed step-by-step resolution. So if we go there and see each scenario he has talked about, for example, the first one, Exchange server VSS writer timeout with multiple providers, initial symptoms, Veeam backup failure with VSS snapshot creation error, event ID 8193, VSS routine error, event ID 24583, Exchange VSS writer timeout, multiple VSS providers present, detailed resolution steps, initial assessment and data collection. So we will get the writer of Exchange, then we will get the providers, we will list the shadow storage, review event logs, check application logs for VSS errors, review system logs for storage issues, examine Exchange logs for database issues, look for event ID patterns around backup time. Provider cleanup based on page 3132, force use of Microsoft providers. So here he is talking about forcing Exchange or Veeam to use the Microsoft provider instead of the SAN provider. Let's see. This is page 31 to 32. If we go to page 31, so where is page 31? Page 31. Shadow copy providers. There are two types of providers: software and hardware. Okay, where is okay. However, the shadow copy service does not specify the underlying mechanism by which the hardware-based provider produces and maintains shadow copies. Unlike hardware, they create not the hardware level, not technique. Okay, a software. Okay, so again, system providers. Okay, export the production can be written. Okay, for system providers. Okay. Again, he didn't say in this page. He's talking about page 31 to 32. Provide provider cleanup, backup and restore. Where is this one? This is not in page 31 and 32. Let's maybe this is page 31. So this is not on page 31 or 32 even. Maybe on 33. So this is not the case. Okay, let me see this one, what it will do exactly. Copy. and try to explain what this will do. Explain this script. Okay. This script shows Microsoft Backup and Restore provider is used instead of any third-party or alternative solution that can be useful in scenarios such as enforces consistent backup process, ensure compatibility with tools or scripts designed for the Microsoft provider, troubleshooting backup and restore issues by eliminating third-party influences. Okay. Use case. This is typically used by IT administrator or support team to enforce system behavior, especially in managed enterprise environment. It could be a part of a policy to standardize backup process across networks. Systems notify the registry incorrectly can cause so and so. So I think here is talking about maybe there is a problem with the provider of the SAN storage. So he is forcing to use Microsoft provider SAN provider. He is using the Microsoft provider. So again, exchange specific steps. Review exchange database mount points, check transaction log space, verify exchange service status, merge database input output, I think, during backup window. Then we VSS shadow storage management, in all shadow copies, resize storage, exchange writer recovery. Okay, so he's restarting exchange related services in order. Okay, then we have base diagnostic test using disk shadow copy. Volatile, we have seen this final verification. Check VSS writer status, verify exchange services, test backup with Veeam, monitor event viewer for errors. So maybe a couple of things here. Okay, backup and restore. Use Microsoft provider. Okay, I'm not sure this answer is correct, but let's continue with the other answers. Hyper-V, cluster VSS writer failure. Have seen this detailed resolution steps. Cluster health verification. Get cluster shared volume. Review cluster events. Okay. VSS component analysis. Check VSS writers. Checks providers. Shadow copy. Hyper-V integration services check. Check VM integration services status. Verify backup integration services. Okay, storage provider troubleshooting. Verify SAM provider status. Check storage connectivity. Review hardware VSS provider logs. Monitor CSV performance metrics. VSS writer recovery. So again we restart, but this is a dangerous one. We need to do certain steps to do so. We have discussed this before. The Hyper-V VSS writer. This should be done in a certain order. CSV shadow copy configuration, configure CSV shadow storage. Okay, so here is resizing the storage to have a cluster storage to resize it to more space. Manual VSS testing using disk shadow. Cluster aware testing. Test VSS on cluster node. Verify CSV ownership. Check cluster resource dependencies. Monitor cluster events during backup. Scenario 3. SQL Server always on AG VSS failure. Initial samples. Veeam backup failing on AG backup. Couple of SQL servers, I think, in a cluster. Okay, SQL is a writer showing as failed. Multiple SQL instances affected. Storage snapshot coordination issues. Detailed resolution. Checking SQL Server services. Verify AG health. Okay. Check VSS writer status. Okay. AGB backup preference. Verification. Check AG backup preferences. Verify replica synchronization. Okay. So verify backup preferences. Okay. VSS writer. Restart. Storage snapshot coordination. SQL Server log analysis. Review SQL Server error logs. Check VSS related errors. Monitor transaction log usage. Verify backup history. Veeam job configuration. Review. Check application aware processing setting. Write credentials or permissions. Review job retry setting. Configure preferred backup replica. Final step configuration. Test VSS snapshot creation. Disk shadow copy. Verify SQL Server status. Ongoing monitoring, verify or set up VSS writer status alerts, monitor AG synchronization, track backup success failure patterns, review storage snapshot coordination, best practice for all scenarios, backup and document, export performance monitoring, regular maintenance, security consideration. So again, we have a lot of scenarios, but not that good from my point of view. Let's see this one. Real-time VSS diagnostic workflow. Initial response. Check event viewer immediately. Run VSS list writers. Check process resource usage. Monitor disk I/O. Okay. Writer analysis. Identify failed writers. Check writer dependencies. Review service status. Monitor writer state changes. Storage investigation. Check shadow storage, monitor disk latency, review storage providers, track I/O patterns, emergency response, force Microsoft provider, clean shadow copies, restart critical services, emergency maintenance window, decision points. Is the issue writer specific or system wide? Are there resource constraints? Is third party software involved? Is immediate action required? So maybe here is giving us the references. VSS writer management 10 to 11 page. Provider handling 31-33. Shadow storage configuration page 26-27. Disk shadow usage 1214. Service recovery 46-47. Event log analysis 136-139. Let's go to 136. There you go. 136. So this is 136 event log analysis. Okay, so it's getting the errors in the event log. So let's see how much time we have. I think okay, let me refer to another case and stop after. Refer to the PDF in project knowledge to create new VSS troubleshooting scenarios, especially when using Veeam backup. Create creative complex scenarios using artifacts. If we go to this one, so we have complex VSS failure patterns, cascading writer failures, multiple VSS writer failing sequentially, SQL Server writer, Exchange writer, system writer registry, all in one case. This is a case called cascading writer failures, storage provider conflicts, multiple provider causing interference, Microsoft system provider, hardware provider, third-party software provider, network storage provider, resource exhaustion, system resource depletion pattern, shadow storage full, disk I/O bottlenecks, memory pressure, CPU saturation. Okay, so let's go to case number 1, cascading writer failures. I think this was said before, maybe. Cascading writer failures. Scenario 1, the cascading writer failure. Windows Server with multiple critical applications, SQL Server 2019 always on availability group, Exchange Server 2019, duplication enabled on system volumes, Veeam backup and replication, environment, all of these we have SQL, we have Exchange, we have a couple of features enabled, we have Veeam backup. Now we can go to the error VSS bad state. Multiple VSS writers have failed. SQL writer, Exchange writer, system writer failed out. Let me create a diagnostic workflow to this scenario. If we go there, if we go further and see here how this is solved, cascading VSS writer failure resolution. So again, he is giving us a scenario that is not logically related. So we have Exchange server. Okay, we don't have Office 365. We have SQL server. Okay, we have Exchange and SQL, and we have a lot of things. So anyway, let's see how we can solve all of this error, or this error in specific. We have event log analysis. We are checking for VSS errors, SQL errors, Exchange in the last hour. Okay, then we check the writers, VSS writer check. We can list it by this commandlet or go to the registry key and see the listed writers under it. Okay, system resource analyze, check system volume, information folder size. Okay, this is related to shadow copy storage. Maybe monitor duplication status. Maybe the duplication feature or job is interfering with the backup process. Okay, review available disk space. Okay, so this is two things we can see here, the log analysis, and then we have the writer analysis, and then we have the root cause, SQL server investigation, check SQL's VSS writer service, verify SQL instant health. Okay, the health of the database, the writer, the SQL writer service, Exchange server analysis, check Exchange services, review Exchange logs. Okay, this seems to be logic. System writer investigation, check system writer components, list provider, list volume, list shadow copies. Okay, system writer investigation, check system writer components. Okay, resolution steps, clean shadow copy. So okay, why we need to delete the shadow copies? Maybe corrupted. Okay, delete shadow copies, reset VSS components. Okay, restart all of the services, stop and restart. That's it. Okay, I don't think this is a complex one, and very simple scenario. I don't know why he is. Okay, seems to be simple from my point of view. We don't have a lot of things to do. So we have another scenario 2, scenario 3. So we have scenario 2, phantom. You will not see it. It was not created the second scenario. We have the third scenario, the resource trap, VSS resource exhaustion analysis, duplication issues. Let me see the scenario, because here is the resource and exhaustion resolution. Let's go and see. This is the scenario first, and we see the resolution. The resource trap, VSS resource exhaustion analysis, chunk duplication issue, chunk storage fragmentation, optimization conflict, VSS snapshot timing, storage space depletion, shadow copy problems, storage fragmentation, maximum shadows exceeded, differential area full, copy on write failures, system state issues, registry snapshot corruption, COM plus registration errors, service state inconsistency, write state corruption, cluster complications, resource owner conflicts, CSV snapshot timing, node communication errors, query synchronization, Resource monitoring points, memory metric, page file usage, system cache, process working set, storage metrics, IOPS monitoring, latency tracking, queue analysis. Okay, what is the scenario? So if we go and see this scenario, which is called resource trap, duplication and VSS interaction problems, shadow copy storage fragmentation, system state backup corruption, cluster aware backup failures. Okay, let's see how we can solve this. So he's giving us another scenario. I think I will do this and stop. So here is talking about the environment. We have Windows Server 2019 failure clusters, data duplication enabled on multiple volumes, system state backup configured through Veeam, multiple CSV volumes with heavy I/O, shadow copies enabled for file share recovery. Okay, initial symptoms, we have insufficient storage. Okay, event, so VSS encounter problems while sending events to the writer, duplication job failing with VSS timeout, event 8, system is running low on virtual memory. So all of this related to storage and memory issues. Okay, that's it. So if you can continue diagnostic steps, analyze deduplication status, okay, get diff history, check chunk, store health, okay, and then we can go after that shadow copy analysis, shadow copy storage, analyze shadow copies. We need to see if we are out of space, and then resource monitoring. We need to memory analyzation by making an counter or performance monitor counters, maybe get counter, so and so, disk performance, so and so, cluster resource check, get cluster shared volume status, check cluster events, okay, resolution step, deduplication optimization, get stop the duplication deduplication jobs, and then start and then optimization. So we will run the job and finish it, and then we will do a cleaning, maybe garbage cleaning. I don't know what he's talking about. This one, the DUP maintenance. Okay, shadow copy management. We will delete all shadow copies, increase the space. So these are this will be done on a scheduled task. So okay, schedule task VM auto retry 3. So when he will increase, so this should not be done on a regular basis, because he will always increase the shadow copy with a maximum of 10. Okay, I don't know if this is a correct thing. So if you continue state system state recovery, export system state configuration, verify system state, clean up system state backups, cluster resource optimization, preventive measures, monitor script. So this can be a good one. Available memory 2 GB, page size. So when it reaches a certain thing, it will send an email. Yes, it will send an email to the admin. Automated maintenance, clean shadow copies automatically, optimize DDoP, verify VSS writers and restart if they fail, log results in a log, okay, recovery, verification. Okay, I think this is it. We do not need to continue further with our investigation. I think this is the okay, this is the one, I think. Maybe let me see before going further. Okay, here's containing the recovery. Okay, disk shadow, verify writers, performance validation, resource consumption. Okay, so we will stop at scenario 4, the multi-writer deadlock. So hope this video informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.